Okay, welcome everyone. Today we have Shane Brady, who is an American actor, producer, writer, director, magician.
Yeah, I'm an up-close sleight of hand card magician as certified by the Academy of Magical Arts at the world-famous Magic Castle in Hollywood, California.
Damn, son. And guitarist.
And guitarist.
Born in New York, you came to Palm Harbor when you were 4.
Yep.
You attended Florida State, go Noles.
Go Knowles, baby.
Studied theater, which I'm sure was a lot of fun. I remember improv in middle school. I took an improv class and it was a good time.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Improv's I am incredibly bad at improv, but I did all of Second City and IO when I lived in Chicago, and it's a whole story. I really enjoyed it, but then there was a very sad falling out of improv for me because I was never welcomed into the
what's the route in terms of supporting yourself in a career with improv? There's probably not that many.
Yeah, you bring up a good point. Like the people who make it really famous in improv are the people that can like Chris Farley famously was oh, I'm just gonna sleep on your doorstep.
SNL.
Yeah.
Right. What was the other really popular TV show?
Mad TV.
Mad TV, but there was another one.
In Living Color.
In all of those,
yeah,
right? Et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
But the reason you're here today specifically is because you're producing a movie here and filming a movie here in Tampa with more to come, I believe.
Yep.
But your movie's called Hacked, a double entendre of rage-fueled karma.
Yeah.
Filmed right here in Tampa. You've got scenes at the J.C. Newman Cigar Company factory.
I got my sweater.
Clearwater.
Which is the most comfortable sweater I've ever worn in my life. Here's the Film Tampa shirt.
Film Tampa, baby. Film Tampa Bay, I believe.
Film Tampa Bay. Film Tampa Bay.
Tampa Bay.
The body of water.
So this movie you're producing was inspired by a personal experience, right? Of wire fraud during a real estate transaction, which is very common here in Florida. We've been dealing with this for a few years.
Which is why I'm excited to talk to you, Mr. Real Estate Guy.
Yes, sir. Well, I wanted to talk about your experience, but before we went live, you were talking about, I think early on in your life, how you were inspired to get into this whole thing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So go ahead with that. You clearly grew up as someone who wanted to be a performer of some sort.
Yeah. Yeah. So I was always the kid that sit down, shut up. I always wanted to be the center of attention no matter what I did. And I remember my parents were still together, so I must have been 8 or 9 years old. And I got a video camera that was mine, not just the home video camera in mine. And with my friends around the neighborhood, I think the first thing I filmed was when Beanie Babies attack. And I would tie fishing line. I'm remembering this right. I would tie fishing line to all these Beanie Babies and they would fly across the air and attack people. And we would put ketchup on them and that's how they would get murdered and destroyed. And I just thought it was funny. And there was no way to edit it. So you would have to ideate the story and think about it and go, okay, so we have to hit record and then stop. And now we know we need to go here. And it was the most fun thing in the world. And at the time, as a child with dreams, simultaneously, I really wanted to play in the NHL because I worshiped the Tampa Bay Lightning growing up. And I was playing for the Tampa Bay JV Lightning, and we were a travel team. And it was September 15th, 2001. So 4 days after the famed September 11th. And I got my neck broken in a game. I got thrown into the glass heads first, spent a week in intensive care in Jacksonville. And then they drove me down. I missed my entire freshman year of high school at Palm Harbor University with a broken neck. And the only 2 things I could do really without puking, because I also had vertigo really bad, were shuffling cards and laying flat playing guitar.
Wow.
Those were the 2 things I could do all day. TV would be too loud, video games would be too overstimulating. But what ended up happening was when I got back into high school, I started really hanging out with all of the theater nerds because they were my people. I like to say that I'm a frat dude, or I'm a nerd trapped in a frat dude's body. I'm such a nerd, it's insane. And I became friends with Aaron Moorhead, who's one of my best friends on the planet. And we became friends because he had a copy of the Dark Tower series as he was passing the hall. And I'm a huge Stephen King fan. And we were like, wait, you read Dark Tower? Because everyone else was reading Lord of the Rings, which I loved, or Harry Potter at the time. But we were reading Dark Tower. And I got really big into theater. And when it was time to go to college, I didn't know if I wanted to pursue medicine full-time or art full-time. And I declared at Florida State dual major for nursing and theater. And I think within 2 weeks, I dropped out of nursing.
Right.
Because there was this chemical pull, this piece of, okay, this is calm. I feel great when I'm here and I can play in this pool. And it's also because when I did theater in high school at Palm Harbor, whenever friends would be like, "Oh, I'm so nervous," and "Aren't you so nervous to go out?" I'm like, "No, dude, this is the greatest feeling in the world where I can go out and perform and get a reaction out of people, and you can see
you're
them
having
laugh.
fun too,
So
and
much
it's
fun.
exciting.
It's the most
A
fun
lot of
thing in
people
the world.
confuse that nervousness with excitement.
I like to think of roller coasters as a metaphor. Like there are people who love roller coasters, and when they're in line, they're starting to sweat and their skin's crawling and they're getting all amped up. And then there's people who hate roller coasters, but they'll still go on them. But you're having the same chemical reaction in your body. So why don't you you're gonna go on the road, just enjoy it.
Well, and so are you probably before you go on stage. You know, you get sort of a feeling in your body and you're exciting and you can't wait to get out there. But some people interpret that in their own mind as, oh my God, I don't want to do this. But it's the same chemical reaction, you know, in your brain.
I think David Blaine said something like he believes that since we all still have our caveman brains, that to stand at the top of a hill in an open field would be way too exposed to the elements and the dangers of the animals that would come get you. So chemically, standing on stage and everybody looking at you, it's just thousands of years of this isn't good. I shouldn't be here. I need to be hiding. Yeah. So you can train that out of you, which is what David Blaine had to do because he transitioned from his television show to doing Vegas shows and, you know, touring and stuff like that. And he said, I would get incredible stage fright when it was a mass of people. But when it was just me and two people at a party doing card tricks, I'm fine.
Well, there's also the social risk of screwing up in front of hundreds of people and everything that comes with that. So let's talk about, so you're clearly interested in this whole theater thing, right?
Yeah.
You've studied it in school. And then you also, we talked on a Zoom call, like you were living out in LA.
Yeah.
You got into that whole world.
Yep.
You starred on a couple TV shows.
Yeah.
What was it like being on set for, Ballers is one of them you were
on. Ballers was a lot of fun. The most enriching part of Ballers for me was how kind Russell Brand was, because we just happened to have a whole bunch of scenes together, and there was a whole interaction talking about improv that made it on the cutting room floor, where my character was the general manager of this esports team that Donovan Carter's character wants to be on because he's a football player wanting to quit the NFL and do esports forever. And it was myself and Russell and like 200 background actors and everybody else involved. And the director was like, yeah, you guys should like give each other some crap as you're walking in. And I think he said something like, we don't need to listen to you, ugly Lebowski. And I was like, dude, I'm just a more attractive version of you, because we both have beards and long hair and stuff. And we went like back and forth, tit for tat, and the whole crew was laughing and everything. And it's one of those things where you're like, oh, I hope it makes it on the show. And, you know, it didn't, just for a million reasons.
How much? I bet it's like 99% of what you do doesn't make it on a show.
It is.
They have to cut so much.
It is remarkable. You also learn, which makes total sense, you learn the hard way that if you're not The Rock, or like there's a list, if you're not The Rock or Russell Brand or all the other series regulars, when it comes time to edit the episode, like make sure he's in it as much as possible. And then you're go down
on the
and down.
chopping block.
So yeah, so when you're the guest star number 9 on a show with 30 people, like you're fortunate that your face was shown.
You're just happy to be there.
Yeah, you're happy. I will say the best part about being on big deal shows is the food is great.
Yeah.
That's like
they feed you well.
Yeah, nothing changes as an actor, like doing a student film or Ballers, other than like warm Subway that was left out in the sun or salmon.
Damn.
Yeah.
I like that salmon. So you had an issue with buying a home. Was this in Florida or what happened?
Yes.
Falling victim to a wire fraud scheme.
Yeah. So I'm gonna try to tell like the medium version of this story.
Yeah.
There's like the quick and the way too long even for a podcast. So the short journey of my life is went to Florida State, then London for 6 months, then Chicago for 2 years, then I lived in LA for 12 years. And then when COVID hit, my wife and I decided, I think now's the time for us to make our first feature. Like instead of sitting down and rolling over and just waiting, which most of Hollywood is a waiting game anyway, I'd made a million short films and I'd helped a whole bunch of buddies with their features, and I have friends that I can lean on. So we made my first feature, Breathing Happy, which we funded by my wife and I sold rainbow vacuum cleaners during the pandemic all throughout the South, like in Houston and Tampa and stuff. If you don't know what a rainbow vacuum cleaner is, yeah, go ahead and Google it. It's like a vacuum that uses water instead of a HEPA filter, high efficiency particulate air. And so it's a medical device, and it's like $4,000, and people buy them. To be fair, like the product is incredible. We haven't worked there in forever. But the point is, we worked for 6 months and made like $30,000. And then I took some savings and Emily took some savings, and we were able to make Breathing Happy, filming 90% of it in Tampa. And then the scenes that have the families, we were in California for that. So now you have the premise. So we filmed 90% of the film in Florida, took our dogs and drove them all the way from Florida to Los Angeles. And now we're filming the California stuff. And our plan was, when we're done filming, we'll hang out for a couple weeks, and then we'll drive all the way to Austin, which is where we knew we wanted to move during the pandemic. Honestly, kind of just as an experiment, because LA was so bad, and that's a whole different story. It just, LA was not a good place to be.
Yeah.
The definition of lockdown.
Right.
You could not go on a nature walk. You would get a ticket. Like, they would pull you over and be like, you can't be here. Correct. Your eye roll is correct.
A lot of people came here, man.
Yeah, because anyways, we could talk about that forever. It's a whole different podcast.
But a lot of people from LA were moving to Austin. That's probably why you picked it, right? You probably had friends.
We do have friends, and every time we went to Austin for film festivals, we had the time of our life. But one of the biggest reasons was just affordability of housing at the time. It was a very close tie between, do we just pull the plug and come to Tampa? But I think there was a part of, well, if we move to Tampa, we're probably never going back. And do we, are we quitting Hollywood? Like, are we done? I don't know. If we go to Austin, I have a bunch of friends in Austin. I don't need to name drop, but they're big deals, and they work all the time. So we got to talk to them, and they would say, look, man, it's only a 2-hour difference, and there's flights out of Austin that leave at 9 a.m. Austin. You're landing at 10 a.m. in Burbank. You have your business meetings and lunch with a friend, and then you take the 6 o'clock back to Austin, and your head is hitting the pillow at 10 p.m. in Austin. Right. No muss, no fuss. So we knew that we were going to get that house. When we were driving from Florida to LA, we stopped at that house. We love it. Let's put a bid in. We won the bid. So the final week of filming Breathing Happy in California, we had already been dealing with 2 months of gross mismanagement by this unnamed title company. And the real estate guy was good, but the title company was a disaster. You're supposed to have, and weigh in here on
Sure.
what the process should be. It was our understanding as first-time home buyers that you should have one representative at the title company assigned to you to help make sure that your house gets purchased properly and that the title goes into your name, et cetera, et cetera. Well, we never had the same person twice. Maybe once.
How many different people did you deal with?
7. Emily, what do you think? 7, 8? Too many. 7, 8, 9.
Yeah.
Like, and it would always be something where my wife is the type A, profoundly organized. Like, if you go into our home, you'll be like, oh, this is like those Instagram things, and then you'll see like 6 sets of my pants on the ground. And
Tell me about it.
Yeah, and it'll kill her. So like everything is organized. Emily is triple checking everything. I'm triple checking everything, and when it came time for us to send the down payment, we already had a precedent set of when we send wire transfers, the title company, they were either impossible to get a hold of, or if we got a hold of them on the phone, they said, we're too busy to like walk you through a wire transfer, go to your bank. So then we would go to fictitious bank. Well, we'll just call it Fetch. I don't know. Like some sort of weird name for like if you have to like chase down your money, like fetch your money. I don't know. I'm just picking an arbitrary name here. So fetch your money. And they would say, oh, well, it's COVID. And so you need an appointment with a banker because it's so important. But there's no appointments with the bankers. So you could just do it on the app. You're like, so this is so important.
So hold on, Fetch, the app.
Yeah.
Why not use your bank? You're supposed to go to your bank,
well,
the bank you bank with.
Yes, and our bank was Fetch, this fictitious. I'm trying to be coy because like lawsuits were a whole thing.
Oh, you don't want to name drop the bank you were using.
So if I say Fetch
I
and you read between the lines, you could assume what a bank could be hypothetically if their name was like.
So your bank was saying.
Our bank was saying.
Go on the app.
Go on the app to wire money. So we would get an email from a new person within this title company with a PDF attached saying wire the money. And when you pull it up on your phone, at least this was the case with this title company in 2021, there was no warning or footer of anything. It was just, here's the name, here's the accounting and rounding. So we sent like the $2,000 for the escrow.
Yeah.
We sent $800 for the inspector to check the house. And so now we're on number 3, time to send the down payment. It was, we just say 10,000 and 10,000. It was like 9,900, whatever. And so Emily was my fiance at the time. So I had my laptop open on a Friday. The day that this happened was April 21st. Which was so 4 days before that on the Friday. I had my laptop open. Emily has her laptop open. We have this thing called the Iceland rule where we quadruple check things because one time we went to go to Iceland and Emily's passport expired within 6 months of our return date. So they didn't let her fly.
Oh no.
Yeah. She had to get a new passport and they were like, it's the responsibility of the flyer. Even though I chase squirrels sometimes, forgive me.
It's all good.
So we triple check. We get the email. Yes. Send the money. Sarah, at least we know Sarah, and she only emailed Emily. She forgot to CC me and the real estate guy again, because they kept forgetting to CC our real estate person, Patrick. And we put in the subject heading to title company, 50% down payment for the purchase of the home, blah, 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 blah. She looks at my computer. Oh, great. Send. We call the title company. So we sent the money. Do you have it? Hold on. Yep. We have it right here. Great. Saturday morning, the notary shows up to set. We sign with the notary. The notary goes, yep, you sent the money to the title company. Great, here's the thing. We sign, the notary signs, we pop champagne. We film the last 2 days of the movie. Monday was the down day. Tuesday, I go to donate bone marrow to potentially save an 8-year-old's life, and Emily starts working at the Oscars. So Monday was our first day off in something like 4 months of prepping, driving, filming this movie. And Emily gets an email from the title company saying, great, you just have to send us over that $20,000 and the house is yours. We go, we did on Friday. No, you didn't. Yeah, we did. Look, and we forwarded the emails and stuff. And they go, oh no. So the Sarah that works at our company is S-A-R-A. The Sarah that sent that email is S-A-R-A-H with an H. That's fake. That's fraud. And we're like, so what does that mean? They go, so you sent $20,000 to a John Doe.
Oh.
And we go, so why, when we called, did you say that you received the money? Well, who did you speak to when you called? I don't know, man. Greg, Jason, Brian. I didn't think that I needed to like be recording, calling your company to confirm you got the money. Wait, the notary. The notary said you have it. Oh yeah, well that was just a clerical error because we actually didn't get it. So that must have just been, that was just the paperwork. So They sold our policy the next day. They said, well, you guys definitely got hacked, not us, not our company. Yeah, we asked the IT guy. Yep, definitely not the title company. Totally your fault, not our gross mismanagement and nobody having consistency.
All these different people you were dealing with, the title company really did only have one representative and everyone else you were dealing with was a faker, essentially?
No.
Or the title company did have
everyone was
multiple
real.
people.
And they had multiple people.
And some Sarah slipped through the cracks.
Well, we have the guy's name and address because.
What?
Yeah. So the guy who took our money, when that happened, instead of a day off, we immediately went down to file a police report and we went to the bank and they go, oh, yes, this money was transferred over on Friday, but the guy got arrested Friday night. So usually what happens is once the money lands in their bank account, they take it out as cash and close the account and you're done.
Yeah.
You are done. Yeah. You are never seeing that money again. And they go, good news. This guy also banks at Fetch Bank, which is the same bank as us. So we're just going to close the account or freeze the account. Sorry. And you know, you're going to have to file a police report and you're going to have to do this wire fraud claim and this wire fraud claim. Should take probably a couple months to get it all sorted out. We're like, we don't have a couple months because the title company said if we don't give them $20,000 today, then we lose the house. And I was out of money because I spent everything on the movie. I think I had like 5,000 to my entire name. So Emily had to pull money from an account that she's not supposed to touch until she's 50, which then they taxed her $15,000 on it that year. And she just had to pull it. Hooray.
What do your agent say in all this? The agent, really, it's up to the seller, right? At the end
Yeah.
of the day, the transactions between the buyer and the seller,
Yeah.
you could have probably gotten with the seller, explained, give us a few extra days to figure this out. The title company's saying, oh, if you don't send it today, that's BS.
I wish I knew you.
Yeah.
Because they said if it doesn't happen today, remember.
Well, that's ridiculous. I mean,
just remember the mania of like, if you don't buy this house right now,
that
it is going to get sold.
I understand.
by
And
5
maybe
p.m.
the seller said, hey, I got, 3 backup offers. I got other people that want to buy the house.
maybe.
I'm not going to, accept your extra time to figure this out. Usually they have to, though.
Yeah.
Usually there's things in the contract that protect a buyer somewhat from unforeseen circumstances, but
Yeah.
sounds like you got caught in a really weird situation.
Yeah.
So what'd your realtor say? Like, dude,
So the realtor no
sorry.
longer does business with that title company.
I guess so.
They were. I will say our real estate agent was incredible. He was
Yeah.
very helpful the whole time, profusely apologetic. But since he wasn't being CC'd on the vast majority of the title company's
Sure.
emails, some of the stuff he'd be like, "Wait, what?"
Well, it's not like, your realtor, your representative is not like wiretapping your phone. They're not,
Yeah.
they don't know every time you're talking to someone else.
And he has 50 other
And he's
clients
got
that
other
are trying
people,
to
et
have
cetera. Yeah.
house purchases. So
I have a ton of stories like that too. Unfortunately, it's rampant. It's gotten better. Like now all title companies have a bunch of disclosures. You're supposed to call to confirm, like be on the phone with them at the bank as you're confirming the numbers.
which is what we wanted to do.
Yeah.
And they said no,
Yeah.
which is why I was
well,
so mad.
and the problem with COVID is a lot of excuses were made during COVID.
Uh-huh.
And when the excuses were made, people said, yeah, makes sense. It's COVID. Like
Yeah.
we can't see you in person.
Yeah.
Maybe you're busy. You have to use the app, whatever it is. So
Yeah.
we've had a ton of instances of fraud, a lot more than 20,000. And usually when the FBI gets involved, the way they do it now with a bank account is they have to verify a person. You have to have an ID. Usually they can see what bank account it went to and very quickly find out who it was.
Yeah.
But it happens all the time.
Yeah.
man.
Yeah.
So
which is why we made a movie about it, because
well, that's what I was getting into now.
Yeah.
So obviously you've completed this first movie, Breathing Happy.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And you're looking for your next concept.
Yes.
So how quickly was it? Did as soon as this happened from your creative mind, were you like, dude, I'm living a movie. I'm going to make a movie out of this.
It wasn't until, I'm probably making up the timeline here, but it was something like 5 or 6 months after this happening that the bank is still refusing to release the funds back to us. Because their argument is there are several different types of wire fraud, but really you can break them down into 2 forms. Number 1 is during this podcast, somebody steals your laptop and pretends to be you. They pretend to be Garrett and they wire themselves money. You end the podcast, you look at your funds and go, I didn't send, look, I have proof. I wasn't by my computer. I did not send this $10,000. You're going to get your money back because somebody else did it. If I had an evil twin brother who looked exactly like me, but he spells Shane, Shayne, and you and me become buddies, and I say, can I borrow your laptop? And I go, hey, dude, it's so like we're doing this premiere on the 29th. Can you literally float me $1,000 just so I can like print out all these posters? Look, my credit card got stolen. It's a whole thing. And you're like, yeah, dude, it's fine. Like, I'm going to see you at the premiere. I'm not going anywhere. You're going, okay, cool. You send me the money, and then evil twin Shane disappears, and you look at me and go, where's my money? I go, oh no.
Mm-hmm.
Did evil Shane trick you into sending money? Sorry.
Right.
Which is why there's a documentary that will make you really, and maybe you've seen it. It's called The Tinder Swindler.
Mm-hmm.
Have you seen it?
Is that the guy that's like, my enemies are after me?
Yes.
On the private jet?
Yes.
Great series.
It's a great series.
That got huge for a bit. That was really popular.
Well, it got huge and it was popular because it's also so horrific.
Yeah.
Because he was just tricking people into giving him tens of hundreds of thousands of dollars by making these women think that he was like in love with them and in these relationships. And since he was from Israel and would have a girlfriend in France and Germany and Lebanon and Greece and Turkey and Germany. When it came time of like, hey, this guy's stolen like $180,000 from this poor woman. They're like, well, you gave it to him.
Right.
It's like, yeah, but he tricked me.
Yeah.
Also, he spent some of it in France, some of it in Germany, some of it in the United States, some of it. So whose jurisdiction is it? Whose money is it? It's bought one day and the dollar another day. And so they're like, everyone just went, that really stinks.
So did you ever get your 20 grand back?
You're going to have to watch the movie to see if we ultimately got our 20 grand
You're
back.
going to leave me hanging?
I'm going to
like
leave
that?
you hanging because...
And why
so
can't...
your question of the idea of the movie.
Yes.
So this is where the idea came. It was like 6 months into the process where the bank is not helping us. The police want to help us, but their hands are tied because it's digital theft. We have a judge assigned to our account. We have a detective assigned to our account. And during COVID, anytime we would try to call the wire fraud department at the bank or the FBI, like the specific department, you would be on hold all day. And then 5 o'clock would hit and it would go, it is now 5 o'clock.
Oh,
goodbye.
Christ.
And then it would hang up. So in the movie, it got to the point where, because we were losing our minds and we're like, okay, are we crazy? Look at okay. I started recording myself on Zoom and just letting it roll. I have 17 hours of me on hold recorded.
17 hours?
17 hours. Sometimes a 4-hour block, sometimes a 2-hour block, sometimes a 7-hour block.
For 20 grand? What happens if you lose like 100 grand? Good Lord.
You're in just as much trouble. But so the idea came from Emily being on hold at the FBI, and she had been on hold for so long, and she starts screaming into the phone going like, hey, FBI, aren't you supposed to stop me from killing this son of a bitch? What if I grabbed the machete? I got his name right here. His name is John Doe. His address is 123 blah, blah, blah. I know where he is. I'm getting in my car, FBI. I'm getting in my car and I'm getting a machete and a gun and I'm going to find the guy and I'm going to kill him. Aren't you supposed to stop murders? You should probably send someone to arrest me right now. And she's like screaming, losing her mind into the phone. And I'm like, babe, calm. I think the FBI is recording this and we do still want. She's like, I don't care. And it got to the point where we were like, this is a movie. And if we can't, and if we're never going to get our money back, and if we can't literally go torture this guy, like there's no release, like there's no, like, where's our, like,
Did you consider pulling up on the dude? I mean, if you really did have his name and address.
Yes.
So tell me about that conversation. Hey, babe, here's an idea.
Yeah. So we asked the detective. We were like, what happens if we just go to his house? And he goes, this is why digital theft is so difficult. Let's say I go with you. Let's say we pull up in a squad car, lights blazing. And I get out and I go, my name is Detective Dugas and your name is blah, blah, blah. And you stole these people's money. Here's all the proof. Here's the affidavit. You're under arrest. He can go, I have roommates. Somebody must have grabbed my laptop and pretended to be me and stole these poor people's money. So you know what? I got arrested on Friday. Innocent. How do you prove it?
Yeah.
There is no way to prove it. The burden of proof is on us and the state. So you would have to have a video of him.
You'd have to go through the whole process. You'd have to go through the whole process.
And then how much does a lawyer cost?
Right.
So now you're trying to get back your $10,000 of the lawyer that's costing whatever. Now you're doing the math equation and the lawyer's going to take 40%. So like not even the vast majority, I think everybody was just going, you're going to have to make peace with the fact that $10,000 is gone. And no, we weren't going to let it go. That's my vacuum money.
Damn.
That is money that I had to wear a polo and sell vacuums to very strange people.
I just can't. How much money did you make selling vacuums? You said $30,000.
30. I think Emily made 20 and I made 10 because Emily was way better at it than I was.
Damn.
She's much more personable. And
that vacuum money, man.
Right? Vacuum money.
They're pretty sweet. I looked them up. They filter the air that they suck through water. So there's no dust. It kind of makes sense. I've never heard of that.
Right?
But
it's like a medical device. So people who have like crazy allergies and stuff.
Damn, so you guys are out the money and you feel like your back is against the wall. There's no way to get it back, right?
Mm-hmm.
So do you guys essentially focus the energy into a production?
Yeah.
and decide, you know what,
Yeah.
we're not going to get the money back. Let's make a movie about this experience.
Let's make a movie and let's our therapist told us that it was a healthy coping mechanism for us to be like, I think we want to make a movie where we find the guy and we kill him over and over and over and over, or just torture him the whole movie. And then during that process.
This episode is brought to you by the official remodeler of the TBD Podcast, Kohler House Remodeling Company. Built on the belief that every homeowner deserves a premium experience, Kohler House is redefining high-end home remodeling with their commitment to integrity, craftsmanship, and quality communication. Their work speaks for itself, from condos in the towers of Channelside to 100-year-old homes in South Tampa, creating spaces that are both stunning and functional. What sets Kohler House Remodeling Company apart is their dedication to not only transforming homes into beautiful spaces, but to elevating the standard of residential general contracting. From concept to completion, every detail is handled with care, ensuring a process that's as smooth as the results are impressive. To learn more, check out our partner's website at kohlerhouse.net, KOHLERHAUS.net. This episode is sponsored by Chansey Architecture and Interior Design. Rooted in the heart of Ybor City for over 35 years, Walt Chansey and his team are trailblazers in their field. Beyond their work across the United States and the Bahamas, Chansey has shaped some of the most iconic residential and commercial spaces that serve as gateways to Cigar City, including Casa Marti and Casa Gomez. What sets Chansey Design apart is their ability to preserve the soul and character of historic buildings while seamlessly integrating modern design and functionality. They blend tradition with innovation, creating spaces that honor the past while meeting today's needs. Check out their work at www.chanseydesign.com.
We also kept being like, okay, well, we can't just become these angry people. Because it did, I now understand when people sue for emotional distress. I never understood it before. I always thought it was BS.
Yeah.
And now having gone through this, I'm like, oh no, this chemically changed who we were as people.
Damn.
Everybody was out to get us. Everybody was a shyster. Like I no longer found the hope and the purity and the goodness in people. I was only mad. So we were like, okay, it's important when we make this movie that let's approach it from, yes, something awful happened to us, but what's the expression? It's not what happens to you, it's how you react to it.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
Or how you process it.
Uh-huh.
So we'll kill the guy in a movie. That's fun pretend murder. And we'll make sure it has a happy ending, whatever that happy ending means. Making peace with this, and our art is the gift. And we hope that everybody buys the movie and helps us get our $20,000.
Well, it will
right?
premiere at the Gasparilla Film Festival March 29th,
Yes.
which I'm excited to check it out. And it's called, again, Hacked, which is a great name. It kind of gives you maybe an inkling of what's going to happen to this dude. So here's the thing, though. Why won't you say the bank's name?
I think...
I mean, if they're not helping you, if you had a bad experience
because
with
they
their
have
customer
big,
service.
scary lawyers and time on their side, and I talk too much, and I'm sure I've said something either wrong, or a lawyer would look at it and go, well, he said that thing, so that shows that he's like. I also acknowledge that, like, we got tricked.
Yeah, you did send the money.
But like, I did send the money,
right?
But internet crime rose 600% during COVID.
At one of my properties, I had a guy that was supposed to redo a front area of a landscaping plan, and we had this whole thing, and I paid him $600. Well, I didn't hear from him.
Yeah.
And I haven't heard from him in 4 months.
Yeah.
So is he the asshole, and or am I the jackass that got swindled? Yeah, both things are true.
Yes.
But for me to sit here and try to find the guy, maybe that's the next movie, part 2.
I do have an idea. Dude. I do have an idea for a sequel. You know those Nigerian prince scams that were super rampant in like the mid 2000s or whatever it was?
Of course.
My idea is, if, and I hope that this movie becomes profoundly successful, my idea for the sequel is, well, now we have to go up against the Nigerian prince. Like Idris Elba or somebody, like the ultimate boss. And the only way to defeat him is we now have to befriend Chandler's character, who's the bad guy in this movie.
Dude, another funny idea, and this is just me spitballing, obviously. Like,
I love ideas.
Imagine it's real. Imagine the movie where like there's an actual Nigerian prince that's trying to get a hold
and it's
of
like,
you.
and it's like Independence Day.
And you're
and
like,
if you
fuck
kill,
you. I've been emailed a million times
right.
by these fake princes, but it's a real
but
prince.
it's a real guy, and he really wants to, like, he feels so bad that we lost our money. He wants to give it to us.
You know the Eddie Murphy movie, Coming to America, where like the prince comes to America and searches for this guy to give him $100 million. And it's like the story.
Yeah. That's a good like button at the end of the movie.
Is that how in general all of these ideas start? Like with you, but also in movie and TV show making? Is it really as simple on first base as, wouldn't it be funny if?
Yeah.
Like literally that's where the creativity starts.
There's
just a simple idea.
Yeah, I'm sure this is an insane game of telephone, and maybe it's just a parable, but supposedly when Ridley Scott wanted to make Alien, he showed up to his meeting, and they're usually 2 to 3 hour meetings, and he plopped the script down on the table. He goes, "It's Jaws, but instead of a shark, it's an alien in space."
Wow.
And he goes, It's
kind of a great description though. That's what that's what that movie feels like.
Yeah.
Like they're hunting this creature.
Yeah.
Their back is against the wall. They don't know where it is. They're frightened of it, but they're ambitious enough to take it out. That's exactly what that movie is.
Yeah. And it's a lot of the way a lot of people will pitch films is, here's my idea for a movie. It's kind of like if this thing was that thing and you mixed them together. Don't you love raspberries and cheesecake? Imagine raspberry cheesecake. Some people go, "Oh, yeah."
And what do you have to sell? Like investors to fund it? Like who are you pitching it to?
You have to sell every single person.
Every person to get on board.
And it's this, there is no like linear through line, because you have to, of course, you have to get investors on board to know how much money you could potentially make it for. But then you need to go, okay, well, I can get these cast members that usually would cost this much, but since they're friends with this person, I can get them for cheaper. And then this hotel location is going to be too expensive for 4 days, but we can film for it in 1 day. And then my buddy has he has this, like, look at that brick wall. That could be the hotel room. And he'll let us film in it for free for 3 days.
So every piece of it is broken out.
Absolutely every piece. So so now, when we went to make Hacked 3 weeks before filming, we had our full budget, and I'm being coy on purpose. We had our full budget, and there were a group of I'm making sure I say this secretly enough. So we initially had 4 financiers. 2 of them were incredibly mean and rude and sent really harmful text messages. And they were clearly going through something on their end, and I hope they're better, but we had to fire them because of this. So our budget got halved 3 weeks before filming, the night that we announced on Instagram that Emily was pregnant with our baby. So I called my buddies and I was like, I think the movie is dead in the water, because I had painstakingly, like, I built the schedule, I built the budget, because you don't have to pay someone to do it if I just sit there and do it. And we just lost half. And this was the cheapest that I could possibly foresee us even making this thing. And my buddy goes, "Can you shoot the movie for this much? And then you just worry about post later? Because maybe this is just another gauntlet you have to do, where you just have to edit another movie for free and it just becomes your burden while a baby is coming and you might not have income." And I was like, yeah, but it's also not a me decision. So I turned to my wife and she was like, "Let's go. Let's do it."
Damn.
And so then every single person we talked to said, "It's during the strike. You're going to drive back and forth between Tampa and California again. And your wife is 5, 6, 7, 8 months pregnant. You got to wait to do your movie now. Like, this is the universe telling you no." And Emily and I would go, "No, we're telling you we're making this and it is happening. Do you want to help us solve this problem or no?" And then people would go, "Okay, yeah, so the way you would solve it is this." And it took us 15 seconds of going, "No, this is what we're doing." And then they would go, "Okay."
Wow. So
And
people
then-
believed in you because you guys were so...
Which I think,
out of it.
solving problems with creativity versus money, I think, and I think a lot of other independent filmmakers will agree, is something that will never go away, and you're way more prouder of your art, at least in my opinion.
Because you fought to produce it.
Talk to me in
happen.
5 years when I make a $250 million Star Wars movie, and I'll probably take all of this back.
Yeah.
But like Christopher Nolan is this wonderful example. There's cemeteries littered with the bones of scenes that famously in the first of his Batman trilogy, he was supposed to have 2 weeks to film that like car chase on the ice, that big moment. And the ice guy goes out and is like, yeah, I've lived here my entire life. This ice is supposed to be good for another month, and it is going to melt in 2 days. So you have tomorrow. And Chris Nolan was like, we're supposed to have 2 weeks. This is like, we're having cars driving on this thing. And it's like, yeah, look at the weather report. You have tomorrow. And so Chris and his team went, all right, guys, we have tomorrow.
Wow.
How do we
made it happen?
And they just made it happen.
That's
right?
insane.
Yeah.
So it's creativity and the concept of these productions, the actual storyline, but it's also creative in figuring out how to make them happen.
Yeah.
And then how did it come? How does Tampa Bay, what is it called? Tampa Bay Films?
Yeah. Film. It's called Film Tampa Bay.
Film Tampa Bay,
which is the film commission for Hillsborough County in Tampa, like the greater Tampa area.
The greater Tampa area, Hillsborough County. Is it involved in like St. Pete, Pinellas? Is it like a region wide thing?
Yeah. So it's
because I don't know. Truthfully, I don't know anything about this area.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. So the two main film commissions in this area of Tampa is Film Tampa Bay covers Hillsborough, and then the St. Pete Clearwater film commissioner, Tyler Martinelich, is Hillsborough, Film Tampa, and then Lisa Dozois is St. Pete Clearwater. So Pinellas and St. Pete. So if you want to film like Clearwater Beach or Tarpon Springs or like the Clearwater Marine Aquarium, you would go to Lisa at the St. Pete Film Commission. If you want to shoot waterfront in Tampa, lightning bucks, that area, you go to Film Tampa.
They help you work with like approvals and waivers and shutting down the street.
Yep. All that stuff.
Permission.
Mm-hmm. And
funding too? Do they help with funding?
Yeah. The Film Tampa gave us a grant, right? It's based upon whatever your budget is. And there's a whole bunch of parameters. You just look it up online, like clearly, like you can't say, yeah, give us money to film in Tampa, and then you watch the movie and there's no Tampa in it. And you're like, well, we filmed inside of a building the whole time.
Can you just dog Tampa? Can they give you money and you're like, this is a shithole city?
You can.
They don't
because they just want movies in Tampa. They don't have a
parameter of like what you can and can't say.
It's not like you don't have to necessarily paint it in a good light. We do.
Right.
Like,
well, I'm glad you did.
Yeah.
Well, that's really the reason why I wanted to do this show with you, because I think, and we talked about this before we did the show, but I really think Tampa is such a cool background for movies.
Yes.
I mean, the history and Ybor City, the beautiful areas that we have, there's so much to talk about here.
Yeah.
And I think now and in the future, there's going to be more and more productions centered around our area.
Yeah.
So when you go to tell this story to Tyler at Film Tampa Bay, you have to sell him as well, right?
Yeah.
On this whole story, the vision. He probably wants to hear at what point, where do you come to him with this entire process? Is it just an idea, or do you come to him with like script, budget, etc.?
You know what's funny? Breathing Happy, I came to him with a finished script, and my friend Jamie Parslow, who was the producer on Breathing Happy, he was the one who had a relationship with Tyler. I hadn't met him yet. And so Jamie said, well, let me bring this to Tyler because maybe we can get a little something thrown in towards the movie. And they put $5,000 towards our movie, which was fantastic because even then, in the script, I go, hey man, like 95% of this movie is me in a house because that's the only way that we're going to get away with filming this thing. Because also COVID and who knows what permits or things you needed. And he was like, no, as long as it's a Florida story and a Tampa story, the budget was so small. He's like, I'm happy to do that. And he also, I'm probably misquoting him, but it was something like, well, you're also not making like Alligator Murder Man 7, which a lot of people in Florida will make these like silly movies that aren't like, it is art. I'm not trying to bash Alligator Man 7, but you get it. Like, oh, well, this is like a movie, and that's Alligator Guy. So then, since we had that relationship with Hacked, I had the script done, and I had everything good to go. And I said, here's our budget. He goes, great. I'll give you another 10% towards that. And then it also is a communication of, hey, I really want this like big deal ending to the movie. Where's a good place for that? And also, what are some good locals that are very film friendly that would welcome us and be excited to film there? Because a lot of places, especially in LA, I would say 99% of places in LA, if you want to film there, they go, well, F you, pay me. Like,
really?
Oh, absolutely. Because it's a business in LA. Movies are magic in Tampa, and people get excited when you're making a movie in Tampa. In LA, they're like, get out of my way. I don't like you. I don't like your camera.
Just because
I don't
it's
want.
so in your face.
It's so in your face. You better pay me. You better give me the permits.
Industry in LA for 100 years.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's all about the money. It's all about the business. It's a contract to film here with this parameter and this, even like a restaurant. If you're going to film in a restaurant, we want this, that.
Yep. And and so like,
but here in Tampa, people are like, come on, film.
And they're excited and they're welcoming. And then, they're like, what's your Instagram? And we get theirs. And like a wonderful example is what we threw on Instagram yesterday. Like we wrapped one of our days at Frenchie's Rockaway, and there was a server there named Dawson, and we showed up and we're like, yeah, man, it'd be really cool to have one of the actual servers just come in and drop the check. Like, that's a fun little thing. Like, you get to sneak into a movie and you can hang out with Chandler Riggs and all of us. And the Michael who owns Frenchie's, Michael Preston, goes, yeah, well, this guy Dawson, he's great. And he's been here forever. So why he can be in the movie if he wants, and then he'll just actually bring you your food and drink and then tip him out. And, like they comped our meals and everything. And Dawson became like a buddy. Like, that to me,
that's cool.
That's why you want to make movies locally. Like, you don't want to be in LA where the vast majority of people might get annoyed that you said you were going to be gone at 9, and it's 9:02. So now you're on overtime. Now you have to pay us more,
Jeez.
So
is this happening kind of in the entire, what do you call it, the entertainment industry, where it's not all concentrated in Southern California now? Like, things are being done outside of it. People are trying to find these new places to do these productions.
Yeah.
We talked about Georgia.
Yeah.
Massively popular.
Massive.
What that state has done in film production in the last like 10 years is insane.
Yeah.
In fact, David, pull up Live by Night.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's with Ben Affleck, and it's about Ybor City. It's actually a badass movie.
Yeah, it's great.
I love the idea of like a gritty crime, mafia-esque, Cigar City Mafia type movie, and this was it.
And they filmed the whole thing in Atlanta.
And they filmed the whole thing in Georgia, and they've built, go to Images, see if you can find, like, they literally rebuilt Ybor City in Georgia.
Yeah.
Because Georgia has a massive tax credit.
It's 30%, if I'm not mistaken.
30%. So, you spend $100 million, they'll give you $30 million. It's quite the incentive.
Well, think of it like real estate, dude. Like, if you and your father, let's say there's like a cool mini theme park or aquarium or something that you guys could build, and you're on the hook for 10 million, and you could build it here in Tampa where you love and you're from here, and it's going to cost $10 million. Or Atlanta calls you right beforehand and goes, hey dude, if you just build it in Atlanta, then we will hand you, we will do the audit. You don't even have to pay for that. We will hand you $3 million.
I was upset when I saw this.
Yeah.
Because I was like, dude, we have Ybor City.
Yeah.
It's still here.
Yeah. But it's more expensive. And you have to, the sad reality right now is that so much of Hollywood, and we'll talk about Hollywood as this amorphous blob of whatever is being made by studios or big money, it's line items. It is run by algorithms and people who must make money for their shareholders, and they must make a profit every year. So that is why you are seeing less and less and less $5, $10, $15 million movies, because that doesn't move the needle to shareholders. What moves the needle is making a $200 million Transformers movie.
What does something like this cost with Ben Affleck? I mean, obviously,
you can go on IMDb Pro and they'll put the budget. I would 2016 Ben Affleck. This is a fun drinking game. I'm gonna guess 20 million.
Gross 10 million, 12
No,
million.
production budget is 65 million.
65 million bucks.
Yeah. So 30% back on 65 million
insane.
It's astronomical.
Enough. So go back, David, because I thought it was like a random area, like a film set, but they actually transformed a town in Georgia into Ybor City.
Yeah.
Brunswick.
Yeah.
Go back up to the top, David. or I guess go back to the page you had before. I just want to see how they did that. Like they redid all, like look at that, Vanishing Georgia.
Because a lot of it too can just be facades. You just build the front of a building. You don't have to build a building.
They did a great job.
Yeah.
It's just a shame in general though that it's like they had to rebuild Ybor City in Georgia. What? Film it here. Like how do we, I want to ask you that. What do we need to do as a city, region, state to promote them filming it here in Ybor City? Do we need to cut a check for 30%?
Yes. Yeah. It's you have to.
Is it all defined by money though? Is there an opportunity where the producer, director, whatever?
Think of it like Chris Godwin deciding to stay in Tampa versus taking more money in New England, right? So he just re-signed here.
Right.
And that is not the case 9 times out of 10.
Yeah.
Right. You follow the money.
It would take, you know, Steven Spielberg visited Ybor when he was a child, and he doesn't care what Georgia pays. He'll film it. It's something, some here. Crazy, like emotional.
The Punisher was probably the biggest film to be here in Tampa.
Yes.
And one of the reasons why John Travolta did it is because he lives in Clearwater. So he was like, great, I will take less of a paycheck and be the bad guy in The Punisher, and I'll get Thomas Jane to come out here. And they made The Punisher in Tampa. Because also the state of Florida had a tax incentive at the time. So the state of Florida no longer has a tax incentive for film. It was cut by DeSantis last year. So Hillsborough County has a tax incentive, but the state of Florida does not. So like the state of Georgia does. The state of Louisiana does.
I wonder why we don't. I guess we get so much tourism, we don't feel like we need to offer it. Like Georgia probably wants to highlight their state. They want people to think of it in a positive light.
Yep. But also no one watches Guardians of the Galaxy and goes, "Oh, good, that's Georgia."
Or this, you know?
Yeah. So it's a thing of Georgia wants to be Hollywood 2.0, and if things are going, and this is all conjecture.
They really do. That's kind of what,
Yeah, because if things keep going the way that they're going, I don't like saying this sentence, but it's kind of the writing on the wall. The same way that Detroit was the juggernaut of the automotive industry. Ooh. And how could Detroit possibly falter?
Wow.
It is a steel wall of automotive. And then it went away.
Damn, I didn't think of that.
And Los Angeles is this steel fortress of
Holy
people.
Shit.
People aren't leaving LA, and they are. There's a whole campaign. It's called something like I think it's called Stay in LA, where a lot of the big deal celebrities and stuff are saying like, no, I will. I need to read it. I have a baby, so I'm like woefully behind.
Congratulations. Thank you. I feel you.
Yeah. So like there's this whole campaign called Stay in LA, and Gavin Newsom has a $750 million budget for the state of California to give.
Dude, they just throw out money like fucking candy.
I guess, crazy. But it's also like they don't want to agree to a tax incentive. They just want, like, Gavin Newsom goes, no, here's $750 million. But okay, now how do you get that money?
The uphill battle to convince productions to stay at LA.
Yeah.
Whoa, dude.
Yeah.
Do you think it could, I mean, look, you lived out there for 12 years. You know the industry. Do you think it could get to a point where there's like abandoned buildings and it's the old Detroit, it's the Rust Belt?
It's happening.
Wow.
And I don't like saying this because it's very sad.
Yeah.
If you and me were buddies and you were talking to me in December of 2019 and you were like, dude, I think you should be moving to Tampa in like 5 or 6 years. And I think like this, I would laugh in your face and I would go, I love LA.
So the switch has been that dramatic in the last 5-6 years.
Because of COVID and because of the writer strike and because of the actor strike and because streaming does not have residuals.
Technology plays a role too. You can film a movie on an iPhone. I don't need a film set in Burbank. I can do it in Georgia. I can do it in Tampa.
Yep.
Wow.
Yep. And it's a thing where they're hemorrhaging and everyone is scared and nobody knows what the answer is and they're pretending that they do. And now it's becoming commonplace of like, one of my other jobs is I work with kids who are now young adults. I do a lot of stuff with like Disney, Nickelodeon, but also just working with kids on their auditions. And so because of this, I know I could rattle off 50 names of kids who have now become very famous. And I cannot name a one of them who has booked a big deal project that has filmed in LA in the last 5 years. They are in New Zealand or they are in Vancouver or they are in London. or
So the
they're in
opportunities
Georgia.
have dried up in LA, so to speak.
Yeah, like it's interesting because they'll get cast out of Los Angeles, but during the casting process, there's a thing in the slate now. The slate is the thing you say at the very beginning of your audition, like, "Hi, here's my name, here's how tall I am." They want you to say where your home base is and where you are right now. So, for example, like I have a home in Austin, but right now I'm in Tampa. So if I had an audition for like the new Office spinoff, which is happening in LA, you can either slate and go, "Hi, my name is Shane. My home base is in Austin, Texas, but right now I'm in Tampa." And what that tells casting is, well, if we want Shane to do this show in LA, we're going to have to fly him out there first class. So let's not pick Shane. Let's pick the guy that's local. So that is one way that Los Angeles is still a perk. I've booked gigs before because my agent has called me and said, like, "Hey, somebody else fell through. Can you be at Paramount tomorrow at 6 a.m.?
Yeah.
I'm like, "Yes, I can.
Right.
I'm right. Great. You're booked." It's rare, but it's happened to me like 6 times where I get a commercial or a TV show because I'm right there. So there is for sure a value. And when you're in LA, there's, the facilities are better, the coaches are better, but like,
well, the whole infrastructure is set up
is there
for entertainment.
But like Emily and I were just there. Emily works the Oscars, and we were there for her to work the Oscars, and we went to do a test screening for a Blumhouse movie because I have a bunch of buddies that work in that place, and one of Emily's friends said, "Oh, do you want to go to the Warner Brothers lot for a test screening?" And if we went on the Warner Brothers lot, any of the 12 years I lived there up to 2019, there are golf carts and there are productions wrapping, and you got to be quiet because the red light's on, and you're going to pass a celebrity, and this movie's being made, and it's exciting as hell, and these two people are smoking a cigarette with coffee, wheeling and dealing, and we walked onto a ghost lot.
Whoa.
Like a ghost lot.
Dude, that's crazy. It's that much of a drop off.
There's a guy on Instagram I started following recently. His name is Producer Patrick. And he produced a whole bunch of stuff, and he's becoming famous on Instagram because he's echoing these same sentiments. Wow. Where he's like, "I've been in LA for 20 years making stuff, and now when I go on the WB lot or the Studio City lot or anything, there's nobody there."
Right.
And it's terrifying. It's like the emperor has no clothes. It's like there's no one here, and you're saying they're here, and they're not.
Ooh. So they're trying to put up like a guise of, "Hey, we're still good, we're still healthy."
Can you believe Hollywood would lie like this? Like, I
don't know. Yeah, right.
But it's not. I want to make sure I'm also articulating that, like, me deciding to make my next movie in Tampa is more so about the fact that I love being in Tampa and having this cognition and realization that I can have just as much fun as if I was in LA. And then furthermore, it actually gets enriched because everyone around you is happier. It's much more magical. To your point, like there's a feel for it. There's an energy. Now we're actually in Ybor filming this next project I'm doing in August. Now we're actually like, "Hey guys, we wrapped early. Like, let's watch the sunset and we'll go over here." And then people will be like, "Were you on The Walking Dead?" And Chandler will be like, "Yeah, I was on The Walking Dead." And they take photos and it's cute. In LA, they'd be like, "No.
Get away from me.
Get away from me." Yeah.
Damn, dude. Well, let's talk about Hack real quick. I know you can't reveal too much.
Yeah.
But I know you filmed a scene at the J.C. Newman Cigar Company factory.
Yes. So that's one of our ending shots. So that's something that Tyler helped us figure out, is like, how do we get the whole Tampa skyline? There's a battle axe in the movie where I'm obsessed with the Tampa Bay Lightning. So I made a fictitious video game in the movie called Thunder Siege, and the main battle axe is called Deadbolt. And it is a lightning-themed battle axe. So that's one of the ways that we torture him. And that's Evan. It's just like the beautiful sunset. Here, why don't you do your podcast voice and you can read the log line for the listeners.
What is a log line?
A log line is you and me are in an elevator, and I got 10 seconds to pitch my movie to you.
All right, here we go. So, based on true events, when their $20,000 home deposit is stolen by Florida's most elusive hacker, the Chameleon, the Rumble family and their mischievous teenage sons decide to go full John Wick, except with the way worse planning, more stupidity, and total disregard for personal safety. It's a revenge mission so insane that it might actually work. And David, we got the light reflects on the TV which I just kind of noticed on that spot. I have to always move ahead to read. We'll get that lined up later.
Welcome to being on set, dude.
Dude, another thing I want to talk about is like the rise of independent creators has probably negatively affected Los Angeles too, because if I wanted to do any sort of program, and I know this is a local one, so it's kind of a bad example, but take any independent creator, everyone had to congregate to one particular area, right? Yeah. Now I can just like build out a studio in my hometown and do a show.
Yeah.
Like people can do that all over the country and all over the world now.
Yeah.
And you couldn't do that 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Really.
I think, and I feel like I'm ruminating on this sentence, but it's conjecture and guessing, which is a lot of this, but it's kind of like the music industry, where the music industry was, you're going to sell 1 billion CDs.
Yeah.
And then you're going to go on tour. And now it's like, does anybody care about when the album comes out?
No, I just get a mic, put it on social media, put it on SoundCloud.
I just go on Spotify.
The public, the consumer, the fans, like whatever you want to call people that consume entertainment, have a direct connection to the creator now.
Yes. Doechii, who is now the most famous artist out of Tampa, did a mixed tape. Ray, who also was nominated for Best Musical Artist, did the same thing out of London.
Doechii's a perfect example.
Doechii is an absolute perfect example. She said, I don't need you. I don't need you. I don't need you. I will go in this booth and I will rap better than anybody that you can put in front of me.
Pure
and I will
creativity.
do it myself. Pure creativity.
Yeah.
Which also, I do feel like a lot of producers will help support and enrich and give ideas to people. But I'm certain that when she was in her booth recording, there probably weren't a lot of people saying, you shouldn't say that. Which some producers might do, right? And so I feel like listening to Doechii's record, you are getting her.
Yes.
Like this is her. No excuses.
Like bedroom style almost.
Yes.
Like pure joy, creativity, expression in media format directly given to a consumer.
And so to your point, if Doechii was 20 years old in 1994, the only way.
Hey, change that lyric. It's not going to do well on this radio or whatever.
And you better get a bus ticket to Nashville or LA or New York or somewhere where now you got to schmooze the guy with the money and thing to give you and you don't need that. And I think that is beautiful and wonderful. And so with indie film, I would love for that to be fully the case. But the only big barrier still is Doechii can make a mixtape and just throw it on Spotify. I can't make Hacked and throw it on Netflix. I got to sell it to Netflix.
Well, but you could put it on YouTube, right? And if it gets big enough, you could get a call from Netflix.
Yes,
what's the gap that's closing there?
So if I release the movie on YouTube, Netflix has no incentive to purchase it because it's already readily available and free. So the only way that would make sense, maybe a good example recently is there's this woman, Miss Rachel, that does children's content. Our Baby. It's like it's a drug to Our Baby. You can put on any TV show and she's like, all right, cool. And she'll get bored after 10 minutes. Miss Rachel, she's like zonked in. So she was somebody who very smartly during COVID was like, oh, I'm just going to do a green screen and start making content because my child has difficulty speaking. And I don't really see any TV shows that talk about the manner in which you say mama and dad. And then Netflix just gave her a big old pile of money and says, stop doing your show on YouTube, do it on Netflix now. So YouTube still exists for her, but whatever she does on Netflix is all new stuff.
It's crazy that Netflix, well, even before this, Netflix started out sending you DVDs. I remember that. Yeah. But Netflix really started out as basically a network where they weren't their own creators. Right?
Yeah.
And now they have money and they are paying creators like Miss Rachel to come and produce original content for Netflix.
Did you ever hear the story about Netflix and Blockbuster? So this is
I lived it.
Okay.
Like I remember,
So you want to talk about how fast things can change. And we talk about like that impossible steel curtain. How is Detroit going to not become the automotive capital of America? So Blockbuster, which was a verb, like, oh, we're just gonna have a Blockbuster night. Like they were the monopoly. You went to Blockbuster or ye old local video store that Quentin Tarantino worked at when he was a teenager.
Hollywood Video.
Hollywood Video. And Netflix, the two creators of Netflix, Ted Sarandos and the other guy, I forget his name, sorry. They knew that the future of content was going to be online. They knew this. They didn't necessarily know that you were just going to go right on your TV, but they were like, no, you could like hook your laptop up and it's going to be digital. It's not going to be the physical DVDs anymore. And so they went up against Blockbuster saying, well, what if we just mail the DVDs to you? So you don't even have to leave your house. That was the whole point. We don't want you to have to leave your house. So they're mailing the DVDs and they're starting to ideate their online platform. And they're starting to get random movies and TV shows on their online platform. And they go to Blockbuster. Let's just say the story is they go to Blockbuster February of whatever year. And they say, Blockbuster, would you like to buy us? And it can be merged and you can call it Blockbuster Online. And so you have your physical brick and mortar stores and your online stores. And famously, this CEO for Blockbuster goes, what do we need you for? We don't need you at all. And the Netflix guys left the meeting with their tail tucked between their legs. And they were like, they didn't have to be mean, but they were. Mm-hmm. And within 1 year, within 1 calendar year, Blockbuster asked for a meeting again with Netflix and offered them an absurd amount of money to buy out Netflix. And the Netflix guy leaned across the table and goes, what do we need you for?
Damn.
And then from that, I think 6 months from then, Blockbuster was a memory. So in a year and a half, Blockbuster goes from untouchable. It is the absolute thing for you to get your movies. And then it was Netflix.
I lost $500 on Blockbuster stock. So right around that time, Blockbuster went totally downhill, right? And I think the stock was like a penny a share or whatever. So I took $500. I was like 19, something like that. This was a while ago.
Unless you were thinking that way at 19.
You're
a smart dude.
To your whole story though, to that point, like Blockbuster, I felt, oh my God, Blockbuster is going to copy that same idea as Netflix. And then they already have the brand established. They're going to crush it. I put $500 in. Blockbuster came out with these news articles about they're going to do digital and they're going to do mail service and blah, blah, blah. My money doubled within like a month and then immediately lost it all. Immediately went to zero because Netflix at that time, dude, they were fucking massive. They were sending out DVDs. Everyone was using it. They could reach every corner of the country. Redbox was kind of a thing.
Yeah, I mean, Redbox was a big deal for me.
Blockbuster just got sucked away.
Yep.
Which is why, dude, I never thought about LA in the same analogy as Detroit, but man, you can totally see that happening.
Yeah.
And it's exciting. I mean, that part of it's not exciting. What's exciting to me is highlighting Tampa.
Yeah.
And I think as it becomes less and less advantageous to have to be locked into a particular studio area, whatever, we're going to get to see some cool shit we've never seen before as Americans.
Yes.
Like, dude, this country doesn't know about Cigar City, man. Like, yes, there's a lot of people that know the history. Yes, thank you for wearing that, right? That's amazing.
I wear this sweater out and people go, oh, Cigar City, that's cool. What? And I'm like, Tampa.
Tampa, man.
I had no idea that Tampa does cigars.
And I think that as more creative people are spread out around the country, it's a good thing.
Yeah.
It's not a good thing to have everyone shoved into one location, everyone closed-minded, everyone's all about the money, everything's contractual, what am I getting out of it? All of this sort of stuff is kind of fizzling out.
Yeah.
But the good news is now you've got cool people in Texas and Florida and cool stuff happening in the Midwest now. And like, dude, eventually this whole nation will hear the story of Cigar City. And I think it's a story that more people need to know because it's so freaking cool.
Well, and I think we talked about this on Zoom. One of my delusional, grandiose ideas, for sure delusional until it perhaps becomes reality. And I know this is delusional, so I'm going to say delusional, is I'm friends with Phil Esposito, right, who is the founder of the Tampa Bay Lightning, NHL Hall of Famer. And we've had many conversations where I'll be like, dude, how do you want to be remembered? Like, what do you want your legacy to be? And he'll say, God gave me the talent to play hockey. Yes, I practiced. Yes, I worked on it very hard, but I've always been good at hockey. God gave me that talent. God didn't give me the talent to learn how to get a hockey franchise in Tampa. That I had to do whatever it takes with Henry Paul, the lawyer who helped him out. And he goes, and I built it from nothing. And I had to convince 100 million people to do it. I had to cheat people. I had to swindle people. I lost a house. I lost a marriage.
Jesus.
But I got the Tampa Bay Lightning here. And now you blink, 30 years have gone by. And his statue greets you when you walk into the arena. They've won 3 Stanley Cups. And the city of Tampa, especially Channelside and
Yeah.
especially downtown,
Oh my God, yeah.
would not exist without
Dude,
that franchise.
that hockey team has literally changed
Yes.
the urban, the culture, the complete vibe.
Yeah, it's a
in
hockey
Tampa.
town. Like
Yes.
Tampa used to be a buck town, and it's a bull
It's
town.
so
for
much
sure.
more than just simply a professional sports
Yeah.
team. Like it is its own cultural component
Yeah.
of this city.
So I look at Tampa right now, and it was because of your podcast episode with Jeff Vinnick when he was talking about 30 years from now, Tampa's all going to be interconnected, and the roads and whatever streetcars and stuff, like you're going to be able to very easily get around the vast majority of Tampa and then Orlando and furthermore.
Hopefully.
Yeah. I mean, it's all heading there, you know?
I think so.
And so I was talking to Phil and I go, how cool would it be if, housing becomes just a little bit more affordable for my family? Because right now, for what we want, we can't afford it yet until Hacked sells for millions and millions of dollars.
Let's go.
Let's go. Selfishly help me and my wife and my baby live in Tampa by buying the movie. Spend your stupid $20 on the movie when it comes out. Don't buy Starbucks for a day. I'm like, how cool would it be to start with a little production studio? And I have already started my production company, and I'll go, what if I just pick Tampa?
Wow.
What if I just pick Tampa?
Yeah.
Because I already have my army of friends. I did my 12 years in LA, and those friends are friends with these friends and know this celebrity who probably would want to come to Tampa for a month to film something fun. And you throw them up in a hotel, and they get weekends off, and they can go to Universal Studios with their family if they want, Like, what if it starts this year with this next movie in August, where I just start putting it out into the world?
I
And
love that
30
idea.
years from now, I can look back at this podcast and be like, the studio that you have to go to the gate and talk to Frank, and he has to let you in to go into the studio because they're filming Star Wars 74 in Tampa? That started because you have to say it out loud and you have to do whatever it takes. And because of that, like they put a 30% Florida tax incentive in the year 2032. And then this happened, and then this happened, and then this happened. And that's why I was most excited to talk to you about this, because you're all about Tampa development and growing things.
Yeah.
And so it's like, that seems like a very attainable goal. It seems
100%.
like something that, and the same thing with the stadium and the Lightning and the Bucks and everything. One movie comes here, and then another movie comes here, and then another, and now you need more restaurants and hotels and people and crew, and
then it becomes more than just the money, right? It becomes more than a tax incentive. Like you said earlier, it's not about, oh, well, we can save 30% by filming in Georgia. No. We have to film in Tampa because it's so cool, because it's authentic, because those stories are only here in Tampa.
Yeah.
We've done a ton of episodes on Tampa history. Dude, like a story about immigrants coming to Ybor City and the violence and some of the illegal gambling and like all the crazy shit that happened here.
Which episode? I gotta listen to that.
Oh my God.
I drive to
The
Austin
last
in
one
a
we
couple
did was
weeks.
with the History Center. I don't know. It was like 3 weeks ago. Cigar City Mafia. You got to watch that.
That's what I got. Yeah,
with Scott
I have to watch
Daichi.
that
He's
one.
the author of Cigar City Mafia. Grab that book, David. It's right there, just so you can see the cover.
Yeah.
Dude, it's insane. Like Tampa was a legit mafiosa like capital.
Well, there's
of
so
the
many
South.
alligators to just take care of the guys
This
you want to
this
get rid
needs
of.
to be a freaking movie. And there was a summer where like 50 people were murdered. In the center of that book, there's a bunch of photos. Absolutely nuts. The book is called Cigar City Mafia: A Complete History of the Tampa Underworld by Scott Daichi. Scott was on the show like episode 8. Was it that early?
This is
How
so
do we land
cool.
it? Episode 8. Like 4 people were watching.
The cover, there's blood all over the car seat.
Oh yeah.
Like,
But guess what? When you think of a mafia movie, what do you think of? New England, New York.
yeah,
right?
you think of Goodfellas. You think
of Goodfellas,
Robert Downey
which
Jr.
actually
and
has a
stuff.
Tampa cameo in Goodfellas.
Yeah,
Funny
yeah,
enough.
yeah. When they go down to
When
throw
they
the guy
come-
in the alligator
they
alley,
They come
Yep.
down to Lowry Park Zoo.
Yep,
And I
yep.
think feed the guy to the lions or whatever. But dude, like there's, and again, of course I'm a Tampa fan, right? And like I would love every future movie to highlight our city. But I'm just excited in general for all the other little towns, all the other cities around this country
Yeah.
that have not gotten the exposure.
Yeah.
Like as an example, remember in like the 90s when for whatever reason, like Seattle was like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
all those different shows and movies were filmed in Seattle. They had like Nirvana, like this music scene pop up.
Yeah.
Like for whatever reason, the 90s in Seattle must have just been freaking
Right.
electric with
And then
creativity.
if you ask somebody,
Sleepless in Seattle,
like name a movie. So like you put the city in
Yeah.
the title, and suddenly people would want to just go there because they saw the movie.
right.
Yeah.
And you know, Miami in the last maybe decade or so has gotten really big.
Yeah.
The new GTA is going to be in Miami. Like Florida,
I think nobody will tell me, but I think they were filming promos for GTA in Tampa.
They were.
Like they were?
Yeah.
Okay, you can confirm that?
I had a coffee with the guy that
Well, it's
put the
like
whole thing
cars were
together.
blowing up and there was
Yes.
fire and like
Yes.
Uzis everywhere. And I'm like,
He's doing some sort of premiere with that, I think, at the Gasparilla Film Festival.
Oh, that's cool.
I might be wrong on that. Can you look up Gasparilla Film Festival? Do they have a
yes,
list?
they have a whole list. They have the whole
Let's plug
schedule.
that as we
Let's
wrap
do it.
up here towards the end.
Yep.
So, and you also mentioned buy the movie and watch the movie.
Yeah.
Where can people find it?
We are actively selling it. So the purpose of film festivals is you show the movie during film festivals and you promote it, and sales agents will help be the liaison for you to find a distributor. And so the other thing that I'm doing with doing all this press is when we go to ultimately sell the film, I'm going to cut a BTS video of how much fun everybody had in Tampa, all the different news shows that we were on. On the 27th, this is something exciting. Chandler Riggs and Caitlin Nacon on March 27th are going to be at the Tampa Bay Lightning game signing Walking Dead autographs and posters for Hacked. And we're going to have the whole rest of the cast and crew coming out there. So since Phil Esposito's in the movie, he helped me get in touch with the marketing team. So, I mean, just having, so 8:45 on March 29th. We're at a 400-seat venue. We're already bringing 70 of our own people. I think I might be making this up, but I think there's only like 100 tickets left or something.
Wow.
Yeah, because we're doing this contest. If you're able to pull up Film Tampa on Instagram, there's a contest we're doing where, so that's Owen Atlas and Colin Thompson and Augie Duke. So Owen is all the way to the right. Colin Thompson's in the middle. Owen, he's famous for being the star of a movie called Little Evil, which was with Adam Scott on Netflix, Sally Field. Augie has been in 100 million things. Colin is the funniest kid on the planet, and he's going to blow up. He does a lot of stand-up, and he just turned 18, so he's about to go to college and everything, and he's going to blow up. So if you look at those wanted posters, Chandler is the absolute greatest, nicest man I have ever met on a film set, and he is so gracious and generous with his time that when I pitched him like, hey, we want you to come down to Tampa and stuff, and he was like, what can I do more? What can I do to help? And we're like, can we do a contest where people can meet you before the movie and do like a little meet and greet or something? And he's like, yeah, let's do it. So for those of you listening, and we should take a picture, honestly, and just do it. If you see these posters around Tampa that have a reward because he's the hacker who stole all your money, you take a picture and you tag Film Tampa, and in a handful of days, Film Tampa is going to pick 2 people, and they're going to give them tickets to the premiere, and they're going to hang out with us in the film suite with all the actors and cast and crew, and they're going to eat food and drink cocktails with, Chandler and Caitlin Nacon, who played the love interest on The Walking Dead. She played Enid. She's in this movie too, and it's the first movie, or the first project after The Walking Dead where Chandler and Caitlin are reunited.
Oh, wow.
So that's cool.
That
and then
is cool.
we have
He was so good in The Walking Dead, such a
was
believable.
so good.
And he was, God, how old was he?
He was a child when
Right.
he first booked it. He was like 8 or 9.
Yeah.
He was a child.
Yeah.
And then I think
That dynamic with the father and son thing they had in those
Yeah,
first
with
few
Rick.
seasons was freaking awesome.
Yeah.
Super good.
Yeah.
He's really talented.
Yeah. And so the way I pitched Chandler to do Hacked, because to be fair, I didn't know him before this movie. And when you speak with people he is a celebrity, like every time we post something with Chandler, my Instagram, which nobody cares about, rightfully so, I'm the 37-year-old dude who makes indie films. Instead of getting like 40 likes, there's like 200,000 views and 4,000 likes because the internet loves him. And they were very sad when he got off The Walking Dead. I sent him the script. He loved it. And during our little phone interview where I'm trying to pitch him to do the movie, he goes, do you mind, can I ask why you thought of me? And my true, genuine answer is I go, well, I have 2 reasons. Number 1 is I was Caitlin Nacon's acting coach, one of several, when she booked The Walking Dead. And I remember Caitlin as a child, I think she was like 13 when she got on the show. She would call me and she said, there's two people who are really going out of their way to make me feel comfortable. And that's Stephen Wen and Chandler Riggs. That's not to say other people were unkind. The whole show was a great experience for her. But she was like, they really go out of their way. Like, oh, this is where this is. And if you need snacks, it's over here. And let me know if you need any help. Do you want to run lines? And I was like, I've always remembered that because as the superstar on the show was Rick and Carl, you could have just
100%.
your teen, you could have been like the snobby teen, don't talk to me until we're on set, who knows? And I go, and the second reason is for some reason, the internet kind of gives you shit all the time. Like, oh, we're happy that you got killed off the show. And, oh, the show got so much better when you were gone, which I don't understand why. Like, you were great on the show. And also, like, you were still a child when you, like, lost your show. Like, I don't like that. And so I was watching Harold and Kumar go to White Castle. And remember when Neil Patrick Harris shows up in Harold and Kumar Go to White Castle?
Mm-hmm.
And the whole world is like, Doogie Howser, he's the guy in this movie that's like stealing cars and with strippers doing drugs and stuff.
Yes.
And it revitalized his career because I think people looked at Neil Patrick Harris, who was already a TV star, already very successful on Broadway, but I think they went, oh, he can have fun.
Yeah.
He doesn't take himself super seriously. Kind of like when Tom Brady got drunk after winning the Super Bowl.
Right.
Half of the sports world went, oh, he drinks tequila and has fun sometimes. Okay, like people started liking Tom Brady from the outside, And so I pitched him that and I go, the only projects I've ever seen you in is you're dark and brooding and you look off into the sunset and you kill a zombie or you're in another drama. And I go, I want to have you wear fun Florida stuff and your character gets high and gets drunk and is the worst of the worst. And he farts into cups of victims because he loves the smell of his own fart so much. And you're so into yourself and you're so pompous and you try to hook up with everything that walks. And then we find you and we kill you 100 times over. And that will not be fun for you. It will be 5 days of you covered in sticky blood. And we're going to pretend to light you on fire and cut your legs off and take cheese graters to you. But I can promise you that it will be a lot of fun. Also, we have no money. Also, are you willing to work basically for like the SAG minimum for this project through the grant, or not the grant, the permissions we were given during the SAG strike? How could you say no?
Jeez.
And he loved it. And he was the most fun person. And when you guys see him in this movie, you're going to go, I didn't know that the dark brooding dude from The Walking Dead could be this funny and have this much fun. Like, he better win Best Actor awards because when you're watching this, you're going to be like, yeah, this guy, he just kind of had to sit in a torture chair for days on end.
Oh my God. Well, now I got to see it. David, go back real quick. Where can we get tickets, like specifically?
Yeah. So you go to GasparillafilmFestival.com.
Okay.
And there's a schedule of all the movies. So you can get a badge to see all of these. We're going to be running around Tampa this whole week during the festival, promoting it.
Yeah.
We're going to be at the festival. We're going to be...
And does the movie have an Instagram so people can follow along with these promotions?
No, but please follow myself, Shane Brady actor, my wife, she's a Zerchinator. Follow you because we're here. We're at the Tampa Development Podcast. Chandler Riggs, Caitlin Nacon, Owen Atlas, Colin Thompson. I should probably make a QR code with all these people's names because when I've made Instagrams for movies before, people care about them for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And then they go away.
It's true.
So it's better just to steer it.
Even huge movies. It's like, what are we doing?
Like, what, you're going to follow Guardians of the Galaxy's Instagram or are you going to look at Chris Pratt?
So you're actually showing it at the West Shore Mall, AMC.
Yeah.
So full-blown movie theater, big
full-blown movie theater, big giant screen. And it's going to be a party. Like, the movie starts, we have a panel with Chandler and Caitlin. So any of you locals, this is another thing. They're doing this for free. So any of you locals that want to learn what was it like for Chandler and Caitlin as children to audition, get on a big deal show.
Interesting.
And now the thing that I think is most important is they're off the show. You know, they each got off The Walking Dead. I'm sure I'm wrong, but like 5 years ago. And so what does everybody assume? Well, they must be drowning in money. They must be drowning in opportunities. They're constantly like, they have to be, right? And that's not the case. They are actively auditioning. They are actively looking for their next job. And the reason why they will lose jobs that they very much want and that they're deserving and that they're incredibly talented is people go, well, he's the kid from The Walking Dead.
You get painted with that brush.
So yeah, we don't want people to watch our movie and be like, oh, well, that's the kid from The Walking Dead. We want.
So it is a good way to describe this new role for him, an almost reinvention. Like this is him coming in and doing something completely different.
Completely. And I remember like we would speak during filming and he would say, this is the stuff I do in my acting class because nobody
This
gives
is
me
the kind of stuff I have fun with.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Fantastic. And what is all this past stuff?
So if you want to be there for the entire festival, because there's not just our movie, there's I think 40 projects. There's short films and 40 features, but there's also parties and panels and events. So for those of you who live in Tampa that want to sift through all the BS and all the noise and hear from people who are actively in the industry, who actively are making their art, who actively are in these projects here locally. They are here the week of the 25th through the 30th, and you should listen to what they have to say.
And it looks like you can buy passes and go to multiple movies, or you could just simply buy a ticket to go see Hacked.
Yes. Or
a couple movies, whatever you want to do.
Yep.
I actually haven't done anything related to Gasparilla Film Festival. I know about it. This whole Gasparilla thing's hilarious because what was once just a day and a parade has literally turned into an entire season.
Yeah.
Gasparilla Film Festival, Gasparilla
the Lightning have a jersey.
Everything, right? Yeah. Which is actually super dope. I love that it's turned into that. But this year I'm really looking forward to it. I think this is such a cool thing. I'm so excited that you're excited. Your passion for this is amazing. Yeah. But I'm also excited for Tampa because to highlight our culture and our history and our region and our beautiful city is a good thing. It's nice to know that the world can appreciate us. Yeah. And I think that for so long, people thought of Tampa as Burns Steakhouse and Mons Venus strip club. And like, that was it, you know?
I will send you a video.
Nothing wrong with either one of those establishments.
Neither. They're wonderful.
They're great.
You got to send people to college sometimes, you know? There's a video I'll send you. I just have to do a simple sound pass on it. I made a little promo video for Film Tampa because when we were here filming, I would grab my phone every now and then and be like, can you just talk about how much fun it is filming in Tampa? And there's a scene with Phil Esposito in it. And I ask him just very offhandedly, like, hey, can you just talk about living in Tampa and us filming and moving here? And he proceeds to just give us the kindest 2-minute soundbite that you have ever heard, where he sits and if I try to copy him, he says something like, Tampa Bay. You know, I've lived a lot of places in my life and I've had the opportunities to leave. I've almost left. I'm never leaving here. Damn. I've never had it better than in Tampa. And for those of you that don't live here, you have no idea how good we have it.
Wow.
And I'm like getting Phil to freaking say that. And so, you know, I'm giving it to Film Tampa and they're happy as can be because they get to put that on all their socials and everything. But it was kind of the final piece for me to turn to my wife and be like, why not? Why not actively start putting things in motion to move back here? Our daughter can grow up around family. We can get Emily's mother to move back down here, and let's start building something that we don't have to be so reliant on the gatekeepers and maybe
the industrial complex that is
and it's
Burbank.
And again, it's not that it's bad. It's just the reality right now of how you get your art out there into the world. Mm-hmm. Like even Honora that won Best Picture, they had to spend $18 million on media marketing, and their movie cost $6 million. So
Holy
you
shit.
make the movie for $6 million, but in order to get billboards and DVDs and people on talk shows and stuff, Neon had to spend $18 million. So.
Right. Well, what good is art if no one can see it, right? I mean, for the artist, the creative process is fun and exciting, but it's just as exciting to look at someone else's face when they see your product and they enjoy it. And it's the same reason, like when someone comes up to me in person, dude, I love the show. Like, that's cool for me too. As much as I love this conversation and I love doing the show, and I would do it if no one watched, I still love it when someone else enjoys it too.
Yes. And that's
I'm lucky I don't have to spend $18 million.
yeah. To get, and I'm being genuine when I say this. Like, this is the other cool thing about you just choosing to make a show.
Yeah.
And just like the questions you asked me, you had an idea and you had a location and you go, okay, so what do I need? I need microphones. I need a friend to help me record it, friends to help edit it. I need cameras. And you start building it.
Mm-hmm.
And then one day you wake up and now it's like, I have a new friend and I get to say congratulations to you. Like, you have this show that's only going to get bigger and it's only going to keep growing. And I'm happy to help you, like mutually assured destruction, you know, like whatever you need to help the show grow. And it's really, really cool. And it's something to be incredibly proud of.
Thank you. And you too, man. I want to introduce you to Scott Daichi. I want to introduce you to a couple people that are highlighting some stories that I think are just as good as some of the shit we've seen in Hollywood at a local level, man. And it's super exciting you're here to do all this stuff.
Yeah,
so
man.
Shane, thanks for coming on the show, bro.
High five.
I appreciate it. We did it.
We did it.
David, how do we do? Any issues along the way?
No.
Good.
Solid. Hour 30.
Beautiful.
Cool.
All right. Thanks again. Bye, everyone.